why are Black women not following suit as much as some of the other demographics? So in the sense that like Black men are starting to shift more towards being more conservative, and Black women are working so hard, but the hard work and the conservative values, while I feel like those are hand in hand, a lot of Black women aren't shifting over, and Gen Z women as well are not shifting to being more conservative, while every other group seems to be.
I think Gen Z women are more open to it than like, you know, my mom, my grandmother's generation. They might be a lost cause. But I think this is not even just a women thing. This is a Black thing. Like, we are very emotional people. And when you put it in perspective of a female, like, it's really hard to separate like your emotions from logic, you know. If somebody's saying things to you, Democrats are really good at this. They message to emotions, you know. Like even Obama's little speech, what he did with those little Black boys in that, you know, campaign office, it's like they know how to play people's emotions. So I think that as long as we sit in that emotional space and don't take the time to separate the emotion and the logic and think clearly and not be so reactive to the first thing we hear, I think maybe we could get somewhere with Black women. But I mean, that's a long road. Yeah. That's a long road, because that's asking somebody to do something they don't normally do, you know. And like the average person, even female or male, sometimes can't separate the two, you know. So I think, you know, if we took the time to separate the two, listen to things from a logical perspective and not in our feelings, and be less reactive and less emotional, I think we could bring more Black women into the party.
Do you think that the conservative movement and the right-wing space in general has a lot to offer for Black women?
Of course. Of course. I think for sure. I mean, I'm here. Absolutely. You know, we thrive over here. I think we're great over here. But I think that, you know, it takes more of just like multiple people like me, myself, you know, my auntie Lynn Patton.
Shout out to Lynn Patton. We don't play about Lynn Patton over here.
But like it takes people like that, like really showing up and going into our communities and talking to people, and like no cameras, just like talking and being a normal person, like just meeting them where they are. Like we all, you know, we like to get our hair done. We can talk about things like that. We like Beyonce. Like, I mean, I might not like her views, but I like her music, and I know you do too.
Okay.
But it's like if we go and find commonality with people and then, you know, talk about the hard topics, I think that would be where we start making more inroads. But I feel like a lot of times, like some people are scared to do that. They think we're going to get rejected. And I'm like, well, if you don't try, you're never going to know, you know? And I think it takes, you know, a village to go into these communities and talk to people, be in the hair salon, be in the barbershop, like talk to people real, like no gimmicks, like just being real and authentic and having a real conversation with people.
I mean, I couldn't agree with that more. It's like, I feel like the way that I've been most impactful when it comes to just like having one-on-one conversations with people with different views than me, I will sometimes just completely throw the politics out, because when they look at us as people on the right, they assume that we're anti-Black, they assume we're coons, Uncle Toms, all these different things, and like we're just not people who are down to chill. And then the second that they start to realize like, oh, like we actually have a lot of common ground, then the conversations start to end up being a bit more organic, where it's more question-oriented, trying to understand the other side. And I feel like that has been the most impactful. I just feel like when it comes to winning over more Black females particularly, I get nervous sometimes that what we're going up against on the right is this whole system where the left is constantly pandering to Black women, constantly finding every single Black woman that they possibly can, especially if they're an immigrant or LGBT or any other victim bingo thing that they can throw the struggle on them for. They're going out of their way to do that. Because you have the women part, you have the minority part, and they're all about identity politics. And it's like, how do you compete with that? How do you convince more Black women that the right has a better system for them when the left is constantly giving them this false sense of elevation?
That's good. That's good. They do that. I think being more, talk about the results, like the tangible things, like, you know, less on the pandering and talk about what we can do, what we have done, what the president has done, you know, and how that benefits you. I think if you focus on the tangible things and like remove all the like, you know, tacky rhetoric and all that, you know, extra nonsense, I think that would help. But it's like, I feel like as a party, we don't do the best at messaging sometimes. Like we could do better on that. And, you know, that starts with like having people that are able to speak to people like that and able to talk and go in those communities and talk to people, you know. I think when we focus and, you know, fix our messaging and talk more about the solutions, more about the results, and not so much talking at people, but talking with them.
Right.
Because I feel like, there's some people, I'm not going to say nobody's name, but that, do that where they're talking to Black people and they are like aggressive with their rhetoric and their tone. And it's like, if you come at somebody like that, they're not going to want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
It's like you could be saying everything right, but it's like if your tone isn't there, like no one's going to listen to you. It's like the second you set somebody's emotions off, it's over.
Yeah.
So I think, talking with people, not talking at them is a big step.
Yeah, I say that all the time. It's like, and this is something I've had to work on too. I won't even be a hypocrite. Like my early media days, like I started in 2021 making TikToks and stuff just about culture. And what I was attempting to do was call out the issues in our culture and bring attention to it so that we can start to fix it. But instead, what it came off as is just me constantly degrading Black people. But I wasn't trying to. I really was trying to uplift, and it starts with identifying the problem. But it turned off so many people that I potentially could have impacted and influenced in a positive way, because instead of being like, oh yeah, like maybe we should start looking more into our DAs and stuff, it was instead just like, Black people commit too much crime. It's like, no one's going to want to hear that. And the constant attack on Black fathers, like, yes, the Black
Don't get
father,
me started on that one.
Okay, because I know you're a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
You don't play about Mr. Thomas. Shout out to Mr. Thomas. But that being said, it's like, I get it. Black father absence, I am the first one to say that is a major issue. But can we just like, for once highlight the good Black fathers that are out there? Can we do more to talk about the positive Black entrepreneurs? We don't have to constantly talk about Black people being broke in Section 8. We can talk about the over 2 million Black millionaires in America today, most of which I'm pretty sure are self-made. Like there's so much excellence that can be discussed, and so many more nuanced conversations that I feel like we're missing out on having that we need to.
I think there's nothing wrong with calling out the problems, but like I said, it's a way to do it.
Right.
And like when we're talking about Black fatherhood, I think the misconception is like absent Black fathers. I don't think that's the case. I think Black men actually do show up for their kids. Now, I think people misconstrue that of whether they're with the woman or not. That's where the misconception is. That's probably not the case.
Right.
But showing up for your kids, Black men show up for their children, And I feel like the media like always likes, especially TV, not with Tyler Perry, likes to act like Black men are like just disconnected from their families, deadbeat dad. And it's like, that is not true. Like if you talk to my dad, he'll tell you all his friends, they show up for their kids. Right. They might not be with the lady, but they show up for their kids. And, and we can ask people to be perfect, some people don't stay together. But showing up for your kids, I think Black men need more credit for that.
Yeah.